Hello and welcome to The Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast, as voted on by us, the hosts of The Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast. It's Monday, the 21st of March, 2022. I'm Nick Richardson, and today I'm joined by Peter Burns.
Hello.
And he sits in a dark room and creates videos for the entertainment of an anonymous mass. It's Indie Mouse. Liam,
hello,
welcome.
boys. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It is an absolute pleasure. It's only taken us, I believe, 7 years.
7 years, yeah. We've been on and off for 7 years. We were supposed to do something for Pocket. We were supposed to do something for
Screenplay, probably.
Screenplay. That's probably an email there. Peter saying, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, he put it all on me as well, he goes, which is very fair. But you found a comment from 2015 that I said, let's work together.
I sent an email back from that comment. I said, hey, like, what do you want from me? I don't remember what you had in mind, but I think it was like an interview in Sydney or something, but I wasn't flying to Sydney at that point. I didn't have any money.
Well, that's on you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So, my lack of money has led me here.
And then it was also, there was like two PAXs where it was like, oh, we'll meet up at PAX and let's hang out, we'll do a thing. And then
well, Liam and I went Twitch clubbing together.
We did. We had a beer, and that we couldn't talk because it was too loud.
Couldn't hear a goddamn thing.
So we gave each other the little wave.
It's like, hey man, good to see you.
Yeah,
this is
that
it.
Could have been when Pete offered the big deal.
Yeah.
I just didn't hear it.
The big 2015.
How would you like to run
deal.
the ABC? Is what I said.
Thank you. And I said, what? And then I left.
You said, woo!
Well, it is a delight having you here for the Back Podcast, Liam. And for those of you watching who don't know who Indie Mouse is, can you just give us a little bit about yourself and what you do on the internet?
Yeah. So right now, I decided it would be a good idea to condense full video games into single videos by myself. So that's it was the worst decision I've ever made, but it was so good that I can't go back to anything else. So that's what I do right now. I started doing this about 10 years ago, doing Let's Plays and all the usual indie Let's Looks, as everyone, I think, started out with. And then I led here doing animation and stuff for some companies. I met you guys through Good Game. I don't know when. It was before 2015 when I started watching you guys. I actually entered a Good Game competition for sleeping dogs or something, and I won it. I won the Good Game shirt. So there was a little bit of Indie Mouse lore for you. Yeah, right now I'm playing games and turning them into. I like to think of them turning them into like a movie length sort of experience. Some people would prefer watching the videos over playing the full game now, which is a very nice thing of them to say because I disagree.
Well, yeah, it really is. No, it's a super enjoyable way to consume because you're condensing like 15, 16-hour games, and my God, you must spend a lot of time editing.
Yeah,
down to 40.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, like 40 minutes.
Yeah,
my longest one was an hour and 10 minutes, which was Resident Evil Village. But yeah,
graphics and like gags and like it's like it's the works, man. It's good. It's good stuff.
It is. It is a nightmare. It is an absolute nightmare. I am living in hell.
It's like Pete keeps giving you compliments, and you agree, and then say, "Actually, it's awful." Which to me is like, that's the hallmark of any basically, because like all YouTubers, right, are basically just like small business owners. And sometimes that small business is very big business, but they're small businesses in terms of like the amount of people doing the work. And all small business owners are the same, which is this is awful, and I want to die. But if I went and worked in an office, that would be worse. So I just have to suffer through this thing instead.
This suffering is much better than I worked at EB Games for 8 years, so retail suffering I will not go back to. Hopefully.
So what are you playing at the moment? What's can we get an inside track on what your next video is going to be, or what are you playing for enjoyment right now?
For both of those, it's probably easy to guess. It's Elden Ring. I've been playing Elden Ring. This is my one break from Elden Ring today, so thank you for that, boys. And then I'll go to editing the first part. So I'm turning that into a trilogy. I'm 80 hours in right now, so turning 80 hours into one video, not even I'm that much of an idiot.
This is that moment when Tolkien walked into HarperCollins and said, "Here's my one book."
Yeah.
We should make that 3 books.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think I'm up to the end boss of Elden Ring. I've beaten every single boss. I'm pretty sure that isn't the final couple. And so when I stop playing Elden Ring, I go back and start editing my part 1 of Elden Ring. I tweet about Elden Ring. And I will be talking about Elden Ring today here on this podcast.
All right, good. Well, I'm glad we are giving you that break from Elden Ring for the next 2 minutes before we, as I read a ad read, and then we'll get into some Elden Ring talk. Because today's back podcast is powered by Pixel Beans Coffee, which you're going to need when you're editing 80 hours worth of Elden Ring content, who have come on board the show all month. You get your back podcast fixed once a week. Make sure you get your coffee fixed daily, thanks to Pixel Beans. And something else you can get from Pixel Beans, not only amazing coffee, but you can get yourself a customized Pixel Beans PS5. For every 250 grams of beans purchased from Pixel Beans, customers will get 1 entry into the competition to win the PS5. Use the code BACKPOCKET to get 20% off your purchase. So 20% off, 250 grams worth of beans. Every one of those you get an entry into the competition to win a PS5. It's getting drawn at the end of the month. You could get a PS5. There's literally no other way to get a PS5 right now. So your best way is by buying something that's far cheaper and you get something else at the same time. This is a win-win for everybody, except for all the people who don't win the PS5. But then they still get a bunch of nice coffee.
They get coffee.
They get coffee, and they get 20% off that coffee if they use the code BACKPOCKET when checking out. Thank you, Pixel Beans, for getting me out of bed in the morning. And thank you for getting this show started right. All right, Pete, let's get into it because the news is not going to break itself. The Backup is presented by one of our top stitch patrons and the best evil person we know, the person who didn't write an evil person gag in this thing. It's me, Nick. Sorry, it's brought by Evil Spy Boy, the other boy. There's the Evil Spy Boy, and then there's just the lazy boy, Nick. Get your exclamation mark Spy Boys out in the chat because thanks to his generous Patreon support, he is still bringing you the backup, and he's hoping you bring the generosity to Food Bank Australia, who provide regular breakfast to more than 132,000 students across the country. And on top of this, more than 200,000 kids seek food relief from their charities every single month. They are doing great work, and Evil Spy Boy hopes that you do great work by going to foodbank.org.au and donating to them. There's a link in Nightbot right now. There's also probably a link for tasteofmultifish.com where you can learn more about Evil Spy Boy and the weird shit he's into. But let's talk about some other weird shit and the biggest stories of the week as voted on by us, the hosts of The Backup, where we back up and look at the biggest stories of the week. So Indie Mouse, Liam, you've had your requested break from talking about Elden Ring. Can you back us up and talk about Elden Ring?
Thank you. Perfect. I was looking at my Steam achievements of Elden Ring while you were doing that spiel. So yeah, I mean, now that I've put myself into this Elden Ring bucket, Elden Ring sold 12 million copies so far, making it Europe's biggest selling new IP since The Division. And I saw a tweet about this. Dark Souls 3 took 4 years to sell 10 million copies. So Elden Ring's doing pretty well for itself. And we've all played it. I'm sure a bunch of people in chat have played it. It is, if you can't go on Twitter without seeing memes about it at this point, it's just incredibly huge from this once niche company that made Demon Souls. So it's blowing my mind. I'm glad they're getting this success. But also I'm a little worried that the success comes whether we're going to get Elden Ring 4, 5, 6, which is good for me from a video game playing standpoint. It's not good for me for a business standpoint because
once again you've got 80 hours of footage to cut through right now,
and they're going to keep getting bigger. And then its success has led to stories saying that apparently we're going to get Elden Ring movies or things that aren't video games, which has me a little. I don't know about that one. Yeah. You know, how can you really show on the big screen people dying 45 times to the same boss?
And also from a lore like wise, the way that the narrative is fed to you is through like item descriptions and any interaction that you have. Like the thing that makes it such a magic world to be in is how obtuse it is. And so
you're gonna need like Vardy video standing outside of the cinema for everyone.
Explain what you just saw. Yeah. I do a 90-minute film and then 90 minutes with Vardy video afterwards.
You could have, you know how like sometimes when there's like an emergency, flood warning, fire warning, whatever, press conference, or the COVID press conferences, and they would have the person in the corner doing sign language. It's just Vardy video in the corner, just talking in that deep, soft voice throughout the entire film.
If anyone's going to talk during a film, it's going to be him. Yeah, for sure.
The game obviously hugely popular, 12 million copies. The thing that has surprised me the most as I've been playing through it, and I started late because I was trying to finish some other games and I knew it was going to consume me once I started.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Beating the first kind of minor boss entering Stormvale Castle.
Stormvale, yeah. Margit.
I saw that like it was something like 60% of players have got this achievement. I'm like, that's heaps. And then now I'm much deeper into the game and it's like 33%. And I'm like, that's crazy that 4 million people, and that hasn't all been sold on Steam, but if that kind of figure is across PlayStation, like that kind of completion is across PlayStation and Xbox as well, then it's like 4 million people have played this deep into the game, like 30 hours into the game.
Totally, yeah. Like
it must be the most played game in the world right now. Like in terms of hours committed to a video game. It's like it must be beating MOBAs and stuff.
It's amazing because like you so often see stories about, Assassin's Creed or something where it's got these huge sales numbers and then it's like 8% of people actually got further than 50 hours in a sort of 90-hour video game. And this game has not only the hours but just the difficulty spikes when it comes to some of these major bosses. And like 70% beating Margit, 50% beating Godric, which I'm sure has gone up since then as well. This is significant stuff of people not falling off. Liam, you have made a living off the Souls games. What is it you think about Elden Ring that has so exponentially captured the imagination of such a wider group of people than these games traditionally appeal to?
It's hard to say because we've all played it and it's just Dark Souls. It's Dark Souls again. Totally. Like they've changed the names of the messages on the ground and the summoning stones and the Estus and the bonfires. All those names have been changed, but it's still just Dark Souls. I don't know if the open world, I feel like people have been burnt out from open world, so I can't say it's that either. I think it was just incredible marketing campaign. And it's that thing where it's like the fear of missing out. Everyone is playing Elden Ring. All these the memes have certainly helped as well, I think.
Yeah.
Like on Twitter, all my most popular tweets have been my last 3 tweets, and they've all been about Elden Ring. So it's like you can't go. All these people who haven't even played Elden Ring that I know, they're like, oh yeah, and they know all these messages, like the George R. Martin wrote all the messages on the ground, like the tri-finger butthole. He was responsible. Like that's the part that he wrote in the game. So there's all these really good pictures of him like writing, and then it says underneath a quote like tri-finger butthole.
Amazing.
So it's like you can't go anywhere without seeing Elden Ring, and even on Steam right now, it has 500,000 people playing just now. And it's been, 2 weeks since launch for a single player game?
I think it's nearly been a month.
Oh, really?
I think, Elden Ring release.
Have I disappeared for that long?
Yeah, it was the 25th of February that it came out. So it's been basically a month. Yeah. I also think the ability to be able to, when you come up against a roadblock, go somewhere else. Oftentimes that somewhere else is going to end up just as roadblocky for you. But I think that mentally there's just this ease of going, if I can't progress here, I can actually just go somewhere else without having to look up a guide of like a workaround to, skip around a boss in Dark Souls or something. Then I think that has also done a really good job of showing people that this kind of game is really fun, and it's not actually about like Yeah, I think it's a bit of a cliche to say. I see people say these games aren't hard, and it's just like pattern recognition. And I totally disagree. I think that the games are hard.
Yeah.
But I think
I've been playing it for 80 hours over the past week. It's hard, man. Come on.
yeah. And like whenever I see people say that, I'm just like, oh, that's such a fucking stupid thing to say. But what I think that it does a really good job at doing is like showing why it's rewarding. It's not hard because it wants to punish you. It's hard because it wants you to get through it and feel amazing afterwards. It wants to teach you how to play it, as opposed to most open world games, I feel like most open world games are almost like, we're going to play the game and we just want you to come along for the ride. We're going to show you everything. We're going to show you exactly where to go. You're not going to miss anything. We're going to do everything possible to keep you playing our game. And as a result, I just feel like I'm not really ever doing anything. I'm just doing the same shit all the time, and the game is looking after itself. Whereas this ability to be able to really learn something, I think, is something that people have really, been attracted to.
Absolutely. Like, I won't spoil anything, but there's all these optional NPC dialogue quests that are without a guide. Some of them I wouldn't know how you'd figure it out, like to find these NPCs and talk to them in a specific order. And all this stuff was optional, and I was following a guide to do this certain quest, and it's led to this area and multiple bosses that you wouldn't see if you were just playing it normally, and you don't need to see to beat the game. And these bosses are some of the best designed bosses in the game. Some of the like coolest looking arenas and all this shit that I love. And we're like, you know what? We're going to hide this behind this stupid NPC quest line that you'd never, like, all these artists and stuff and these writers have worked all this on this amazing boss. And they're like, you know what? Most of the people aren't going to see this. But if you go out of your way to, work on finding all these little items and stuff around the world, then you'll see it. And yeah, like you said, most games now, they've put everything in your face because, it's understandable. They put all this work into this game and they want people to see it. So they're like,
totally.
Look at like all the stuff that we've made. And sometimes, games will control the camera to make you look at things. But yeah, this game is they've just put you in a world. They haven't given you any direction except go to the big castle over there. And I think I appreciate it. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I think
100%.
Definitely part of, I'm adoring it. I think like part of what's making Elden Ring stand out over Dark Souls is like there's because even in Dark Souls, I always felt like I had, if I got stuck on this path, I always had in the back of my mind, I know I didn't fully explore that path and I can go there. And that exists here, but it's not just like, it's not different gauntlets. The idea of running down a gauntlet, it's so oppressive in Dark Souls. There's never like breathing room. There's never breathing room.
Yeah,
even in a big city like Analondo, it's a very tight path that you're navigating. Whereas here, like just the fact that you can breathe, you can stop and enjoy the space as well. I think is like
you can kill a couple of owls on the way. Yeah,
yeah. It's just exactly like things that are non-threatening. You just run up and hit them. You're like, oh, I'm so strong. But like I think it is just giving people a sense of control that Dark Souls doesn't always have. And Sekiro definitely didn't have.
Oh yeah, no.
Sekiro had the stronger narrative, and I think there's stronger narrative definition in this that is still obtuse, but it's like I think they've just gotten better and better at the things that they're great at already. And the series is becoming more and more popular. Souls games from Software as a company is becoming more and more popular. So I think it's just inevitable that they're going to keep growing with iterative releases of their work. People know what they're getting and they love going back into it. So
this is certainly a greatest hits from Software. You can tell like all their past game. Even Dark Souls 2 is in there, and that game sucks.
I love Dark Souls.
It's also interesting.
I love it.
So do I. But it sucks. I've tried to replay it recently. I got to the gutter and I said, you know what? I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
I've had enough of this game.
Yeah, fair.
Because the really interesting thing is that after this, the next From game is potentially that Armored Core game. So, like, talk about a total 180 you've got 12 million people who are like playing something that I assume the majority of them are really impressed by, and then the next thing that this company's going to bring out is like a hardcore mech tactics game. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. But the final thing with what you were talking about, their hopes to expand beyond just games. That was the one thing where I was like, oh, I really don't want you to do that. Like, I don't want an Elden Ring movie or TV show. I don't want any of that, because as soon as you start putting a plot into this, like, I think that the stories are so loose. They're amazing once you uncover them and you watch the lore videos, but it's like they're special. They're special
Leonardo
because
DiCaprio
of that.
Playing like the Tarnished.
Totally, yeah.
It's not going to sit right. Yeah,
exactly. As soon as people need to be put in this, and there needs to be like incidental dialogue as opposed to just talking about the lore, which is all the characters do, is like talk about this
all
is why I am
Scorsese's Elden Ring. Leo.
Totally. So, like, I think it's inevitable that they're going to go in that direction. They've said that they want to go beyond the games, but that's the one thing where I'm just like, no, just stay pure, I suppose. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what it's like. But if it does, at least 12 million people are going to go along and see that thing. So it's wild. We're not going to see another success. I don't know if it's necessarily surprise success, but even I didn't think that this game would be selling this much. I did not think it would catch on in this way.
Yeah, for sure. Look, at Elden Ring anime, now we got some legs.
Yeah. Now you want to talk about something that you're into.
And it's not the legs.
Like that. Finally, I'm bringing them back.
It's actually the ladders. That's the thing that's really into. Yeah.
I've been getting comments about that. And Elden Ring ladders when I'm like, that's pretty funny. Where'd you get that joke? 10 years ago?
Totally. Okay, Pete, talk about what made you back up this week and go, hey, that's a big story.
So there was a developer live stream for the Dead Space remake. And I'll admit that I was a little bit of a snooty poopy pants when I first saw it, because when I first saw, I didn't know that this stream was going to happen. I just saw a clip on Twitter afterwards. This was the clip. And we don't need to hear the sound. It is a sound clip, but I saw this and I saw, oh, cool, that looks great. And then I reclocked it and I was like, what the fuck? The original's the top one?
Yep.
The original looks 100 times better.
Yep.
That I do feel that about this clip. However, I went and watched the sound design dev diary that they put out. The game is still in very, very early build. They're going to do lighting passes to fix that kind of stuff. And they kind of did an audio deep dive on kind of the atmosphere. It was really just like a celebration of what they love about Dead Space and what they're trying to manipulate in the remake to make it feel even better. And some of the footage they showed in here was like, yeah, okay, cool. Here's some lighting. Here's where you're playing with lighting and effects and stuff in a way that feels natural to the classic and modernized in a nice way. The really impressive stuff that they talked about, and they were nerding out so hard, but it was like the tech that they're putting in here to make sounds feel like. An example that they give is when Isaac walks into this like U-shaped corridor in the original, you hear this thumping to your right, and as you walk around the U shape, you see the thing in front of you. So what they've tried to design and are effectively designing, they've showed demos of it, is much better audio, spatial audio. So when Isaac walks into that room now, it comes from his left, because that's where the sound can travel. It can't travel through a foot of steel on this ship.
Oh, right, yeah.
So it sounds muted, and it's bounced off X amount of surfaces, and the surfaces are this type of surface, so it's affecting the audio in this way. You walk around the corner, and suddenly you get that more booming and direct line of audio. Things like playing an audio log on the floor, and it sounds really crystal clear in the space that you're in. You walk through a door, and it mutes it a little bit. The door closes, and the equalizer changes again, and now the clearest point for that audio to travel through is the pane of glass to the right of the door. So the spatial sound goes, all right, well, it's actually, the sound's now coming from more this perspective and is affected by this material that it's traveling through. So it sounds like this. So it's like, it really was like so nitty gritty, and like if nothing else works in the game, you're like, well, why did you bother? But the promise of an audio experience that technical, I think is a perfect fit for Dead Space, and will really elevate the set and make just way much more horrific. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I mean, the first time I played Dead Space was 2020. Whenever I made my video, those were my first. Yeah, the 3 videos I made for Dead Space were the first time I played them, and the first one was my favorite one, and it still lives up now. So it's very surprising to get this as soon as I release those videos. So I'm gonna have to play Dead Space again.
Yeah,
it was incredible. Like it's kind of that thing that happens when you remember a game as a kid, and this is the footage we're looking at now. I know this isn't the game I played, but this is what it looked like to me, like when I was playing it. And until you put it side by side, you can't really tell. But yeah, I'm looking forward to playing. I don't know if they've said that they're just remaking it shot for shot, or if they're going to have a little bit of liberty with the story and stuff. But either way, I don't know. Does this mean they're going to remake Dead Space 2? Hopefully remake Dead Space 3 into a completely different game.
Just a different game.
Yeah, that isn't Dead Space 3. But I'm excited for this, and I'll have to call my video Super Dead Space for this one.
Yeah.
This was the the remake where they said that they got access to the original design docs?
Yeah.
So they're actually they're changing some stuff to be more in line with what the devs wanted to do in the first place, but technically couldn't, and that sort of thing. So I think that's cool that we're getting the we're almost getting a director's cut, at the same time. And Pete, with the discussion about the sound, I do think that it's cool. It's cool seeing this game the way that they're revealing this. It's on its own sort of like separate release track to everything else. Like EA announced last week, I think, that they're not doing an EA Play around E3.
June,
and that part of that is probably that they just don't have the games to show off at the moment. They're not at the point that they need to start building that hype cycle. The one that they do have is Dead Space, and Dead Space is off doing its own thing in this way. And I do think it's really cool that they've gone, well, a lot of people will already know what to expect from Dead Space. And so you know what you're getting with this one. So instead, we're going to give you like almost a behind the scenes of just the cool shit we're doing, which you don't get in a traditional hype marketing cycle of a video game. Most of the time, it's just like, here's the features of the game. And this is actually like, here's the things we're doing as sort of cool, nerdy behind the scenes of here's what we're doing to make that thing you love better. And so I'm actually, I tune into this stuff excitedly going like, oh, this is actually like a little documentary about making this thing, as opposed to like, here's what a fucking 4 legs bursting out of a body looks like.
Can you
go ahead?
Can you imagine a big E3 conference in a big crowd, and they come out talking about their sound design? It comes through the window pane now, and the crowd is just silent.
It's like, what? Totally.
It's definitely hype as a 50-minute live stream randomly, and not so much around whatever Naughty Dog are releasing next.
Although it does seem like a missed opportunity to do that. You know, when they announced Last of Us Part 2 and they took all the journos to like that sort of barn dance scene for that, it just feels you do this and then you take them to some dripping, horrific thing, and everyone's just like, this place is fucking terrifying
on the way in.
But it is amazing that it sounds like that audio log is coming from that window. And that really, that's very impressive.
Yeah, They've said early 2023 is all they gave up in this live stream, and that they are in the pre-alpha stage where they are at the position where they can. They reckon in a couple of weeks they'll be able to play through an entire play of the game. So at that point they'll be refining for the next 8 months until it comes out. If it's early.
Do we know who's making this developer wise?
It's EA. What do they rebrand to? It's Motive.
Motive. Okay. Are they the same? I know Visceral got shot in the back of the head by EA after Dead Space 3, but is that like the same some of the same people, or are they just
There's some visceral people. It's Jade Redman who founded Motive.
Raymond, yeah.
Raymond, who founded it. So I think they've poached some people, but it's not like the OG team coming back.
This was a team that were building the Star Wars narrative game under Jade Raymond.
Yeah.
Which didn't come out. So I don't think we have any track record of what Motive have done. Did they end up doing the Star Wars Squadron thing? The fighting game?
Yeah, they did. They did Squadrons and Battlefront 2.
Okay, cool.
They collabed with DICE and Criterion.
They can finish a game.
Yeah.
I mean, so could Visceral, and look what happened to them.
They sure could. But I mean, that's the other exciting thing is that like half of like Visceral, well, half of the original developers are making Calypso Protocol, which we haven't seen more about, but an original idea.
Totally.
Well,
set in the universe of probably.
Yeah, close enough that it is visually very similar based on like the spine health reading and stuff like that we saw in the early stuff. So we got 2 horror games coming out very soon, Indie Mouse. So super yourself up.
I will. I'll get ready for Shocktober.
And then my story is also about a game coming out, a very, very different kind of game. This is from Sam Barlow, who is the creator of Her Story and Telling Lies. And we got some more info about Immortality, which is his new game, which I'm super excited for. I mean, Her Story, of course, was a critically beloved game where you sort of piece together a mystery from a series of interviews with just one woman. And it was such a unique way of putting together an FMV game and a puzzle game and a mystery game. And it was just wonderful. Telling Lies, the second one was less about the interviews and it was more like you were putting together 2 sides of phone calls all the time. And I played about half of Telling Lies and then I just dropped off it. I think I ended up picking up Outer Wilds instead and that just took over. I've been meaning to go back. I didn't find it as compelling as Her Story, but it was still a cool idea. This one, they have stepped the fuck up in terms of production value for this game. So the story of the game is that there's an actor, Marissa Marcel, who sort of like back in the 50s, and she made 3 unreleased movies and then she just disappeared. And we're supposed to piece together what happened to her based off what it looks like. Scenes from some of the films, interview clips, behind the scenes footage of like photo shoots and stuff that she's in, and the unique mechanic, which I still don't entirely understand how this works with this, is you're basically like matching cuts in films and stuff to other pieces of footage. So it kind of like did this thing where it's like you've got this close-up of her and then you go to another piece of close-up footage. Pete, was I reading this right?
Yeah, I have no idea what they mean by it, but because this is the moment in the trailer where it's like manipulate those things. Like to me, I feel like there's going to be I don't know what that is, and I'm fine not knowing that going into the game. It feels like this is going to be, to me, at least in part, listening to stuff that's happening off take in between takes and going like, oh, she mentioned that person, and if I jump across to this clip, now I can actually determine who that person was and where they were, that kind of thing. Like piecing little pieces of information that are delivered in little snippets. So maybe the idea of cutting reels together is more like she mentioned so-and-so at this point in movie number 1, and in movie number 2, in a downbeat, she says something about must be referring to that person. So if I put them together, it like gives me a thumbs up and I progress through the puzzle.
And I'm so impressed by the look of this. It looks quite contained still. Like there's, lots of it is set in just rooms with curtains and that sort of thing. It doesn't seem particularly epic in scope, but they've nailed the time period. They've nailed the vibe of the thing. Everyone just looks so much like they exist. Like these are real films, which is so hard to do. It's so hard to make this shit look real. Totally. And I could not be more excited for this.
Little things as well. It's like we're all really familiar with like faking the film look. I don't know if they have here or whether they shot on film and digitized it. But it's this shot here for me that is like, yeah, you did your research. The servo zoom, no one fucking uses that except in that era. It's totally, like, and the timing when cameras
were just too annoying to move.
Off, like just a little bit off, like, but like the rocker zoom, like it's not like it's so classic, and all the shots in the Nitro setup, like the detail is all there from the production of every one of these things. Let alone so hard to art department fucking nailing it as well, like.
Totally.
Awesome.
And it's so hard to do this without veering into parody. And obviously we've only just seen a trailer, but from what it looks like then it's not doing that parody thing. It just feels authentic. Liam, did you enjoy Her Story or Telling Lies?
No, I didn't play either. I think I watched. Did you play them for a video?
For Her Story, yeah, I did.
Yeah. I think I did watch that. So I'm aware of that, but I don't remember anything about it. But I'm not. These are the kind of games that I watch. Mm-hmm. People play more so than play myself, which I don't do a lot of, but these games I do. But no, I mean, like you said, it looks incredible. Like some people look at the real life footage video games, they're like, oh, they're taking the cheap way out or the easy way out because they don't have to make graphics. But yeah, like this stuff is intense and a lot of work to make these outfits and have it, like you said, look authentic without looking cheesy. And it could be cheesy, we don't know, but it looks incredible. Like this interview scene here looks like it could be from a interview show from back then. So yeah.
Well, I actually when I first saw the trailer, that opened up, and I thought that was actually Johnny Carson. I thought this was a clip from Johnny Carson, and that they were using it as like, here's a sort of like, contextually relevant piece of footage or something. Yeah. And then I start watching the rest of the trailer. I'm like, hang on a second, that's that woman from Johnny Carson. How fucking old is she? And then I go back to the first thing. I'm like, wait, that's not Johnny. Oh my god. And I was just like, I'm so in. Yeah.
So do you have any idea what the gameplay is of this yet? Because all I've seen is they've zoomed in on her face and then it changes to another scene. And they zoom in on her face again.
So it's like Pete said, it's probably doing that like. I mean, with Telling Lies, it was like you got these phone conversations and you only ever heard one side of the conversation. So there was all these blank spots where someone's just listening that you would fast forward through and then get the next thing. And then you needed to basically track down the other phone conversation through finding files on the computer and stuff. And then you would get the full context of the info. And Her Story was about sort of like sorting these clips to like just being able to go through and try to chronologically put together what happened here. It will be something like that. But all the things with those games, particularly Her Story, so unique in terms of like, you didn't really know when you finished the game. You just knew that, okay, I feel like I'm not getting any new information now. And so that's the end of the game. So it was really this choice of like, okay, the end of the game is I'm just going to choose to stop playing. I'm not going to like see credits. I'm just going to go, okay, that was Her Story.
So that drives me crazy. I need that credits. Otherwise, I'm like,
you want the achievement.
Yeah, well,
you keep an eye on it.
I haven't died 400 times. This game's no good.
So we don't have an exact release date. We know it's coming summer in America 2022. So that means it's coming sort of like mid-year. So we don't need to wait too long, which is exciting. And then two other things that sort of caught my eye over the course of the week. We got a trailer for a game called Flintlock, which is a new open world action RPG from the team that made Ashen. And Ashen was actually, I mean, speaking of like Souls-likes, that was I actually enjoyed Ashen. Ashen was a fun ride. Liam, did you play Ashen?
I played it very briefly.
Yeah.
I would not describe it as a fun ride, but it was good. It was alright. It looked cool, but I didn't play it for very long.
It did look cool. No, I mean, I fell off it after a couple of hours, but I was like, yeah, no, you're doing the thing. And this trailer, just very atmospheric and looking super cool. It's sort of like guns, swords, magic all joined together, and it's coming to PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and Game Pass on day one. And we finally got a word on Roller Champions as well. The story that I saw was that Roller Champions was delayed to late spring, which is March to June. But Pete, can you delay something if you haven't announced it's like? I was like, the word delay here is very strange, as though we all expected it out this week.
Yeah, I think just release it. I don't want to hear about it again until it's out.
Yeah,
I don't need to know.
I think we should do that with everything. I think that it should be illegal to announce your game before it's done, and it has like a 6-month gap between the announcement and the release. I'm sick of waiting like 4 years for a game. It's not healthy for the game. It's not healthy for like anyone involved, I don't think, except for the pre-order cycle. But yeah, I would really like if games would not do this whole delay thing and just announce it when it's finished.
The 2-year tease.
Totally, man.
Yeah.
Totally. So March to June is when we can expect to hear the next piece of Roller Champions information, which is that they've delayed it again. And that's literally all the video game news that happened this week. There's nothing else you need to know.